It is not my wish to harm you.
Do you wish to heal me?
I wish to heal all Middle-earth.
It is great to chat with you both again and dive more into spoilers for this season because, God, there was so much to talk about this season. Morfydd, I'd like to turn to you first. One of the big surprises for me was seeing Galadriel and Elrond's kiss. I always kind of looked at them as sort of an unrequited love on Elrond's part. And I'm curious, with that moment, do you feel that maybe Galadriel reciprocates that sense of affection, or do you think that she's just as surprised as the audiences are?
Well, I kind of wanted the elves kissing on the mouth all the time from the very beginning. I kind of see it as like an ultimate show of like love and admiration, but in a platonic way. And I quite like that it was kind of felt to us as humans quite like it's romantic, because I quite like the idea that the elves do kind of move through the world quite differently and kind of a little bit bohemian.
Yeah, nice.
No, but when I read it, I was like, ooh, but I also think that their relationship is this idea that kind of romantic love is the greatest, most important form of love isn't something that I necessarily it's wonderful, but there are also so many different types of love. And the love that Elrond and Galadriel have for each other, which is millennia long and filled with respect and kind of loyalty and admiration, is something that I kind of think is so beautiful.
There really is so many layers to that relationship, and I can't wait to see how they unfold in future seasons, hopefully. Charlie, I'll turn it to you next. Last we talked, we mentioned Celebrimbor's death and Sauron being very sad over it. But that said, I'm curious, we also see the Uruk destroy all of Celebrimbor's works. And since Sauron is very much trying to build these rings to sort of manipulate the world, how do you think he's going to view the Uruk now that they have sort of wiped out his means of doing so?
I think that the Uruk destroying the books, it's kind of, I saw that more as them destroying a lot of elven lore and old scriptures and stuff. And I think Sauron doesn't mind about that so much because although he loves Middle-earth, he hates the elves, and I think they could be wiped from the face of the earth as far as he's concerned. But I think that him being a Maya, anything that he's learned from Celebrimbor, he still holds very dear, and it's there now. And I think that a lot of that was very crucial information that he needed, because as we know, there is another ring that he needs to make, and I think that his work with Celebrimbor probably informed a lot of the process that he needs to undertake in order to make the next ring. But I think we've seen a gradual, the way it's kind of been presented is that he's putting more and more of himself into each ring as he makes them. And you would think that a lot of himself has to go into the next one.
Yeah.
Whenever that big one comes along, it's going to be a pretty powerful sequence in the show. I can't wait for when that happens.
I've got ideas. Very nice.
So Morfydd, I'd love to turn back to you because I also loved in the finale that we see the early days of Rivendell as the elves arrive there, and it is a very beautiful and hopeful moment for the audience. But for Galadriel, she's still, I'm sure, dealing with a lot of the trauma of having fought Sauron again and lost the Nine Rings. What do you think is going through her mind, as they make their way to Rivendell? Do you think she has that same sense of hope that the audience might, or do you think she's still carrying some of that guilt from what we just saw?
Yeah, I think she'll always carry there's going to be a little shadow on her heart of all the guilt of what she did. But I think she in that decision where she decides the door is shut to Sauron and she jumps from that cliff, she's ready to commit herself to caring and loving and hoping. So I feel it's this big new chapter to her where she's becoming so much closer to the Lady of Light that we know, which is the thing that will separate her from Sauron and mean that no matter how much she reaches and gropes for her, she is untouchable, really. Yeah, and I think she's very inspired by those around her in a way that she wasn't before. She'd lost her ability to be inspired.
She's got a really great support system in the other elves, so hopefully that sort of, like you say, it continues to inspire her next season. I see I got time for one more question, so Charlie, I'll turn back to you. Now that Sauron has gotten the Uruk back under his belt, in a sense, how do you think he's going to be going into this next season now that he can't really manipulate Galadriel like he used to? Do you think he's going to be feeling more emboldened, or do you think he's going to sort of be a little aimless in a sense?
I think more emboldened. I think in the sense that where he's getting close, if you look at his power on like a chart, I think he's getting closer and closer to being at his peak power. And I think we could get a version of Sauron where he is like the Sauron the Terrible. Like he is at his most mighty, externally at least, because I don't know, Tolkien wasn't very specific about the form that he took when he went to Numenor, but I would imagine there's a whole bunch of psychological stuff there, interplay between him and Pharazôn, but I think that's a bit further down the line in terms of our show. So I think he is on a vendetta against the elves, and
he hates boundaries,
so
he'll continue to push them.
Exactly. He's a bit forward thinking. He's a bit before his time, I think. Beyond his time. What's the phrase? He's better than everyone else, but ahead of his time. He's ahead of his time.
Well, I'm curious to see how that power continues to. Again, we don't have confirmation yet, but hopefully when season 3 comes along, because I can't imagine they won't do it, we get to continue to see both of your characters grow in such incredible ways. So thank you both so much for taking the time to chat with me again. I really do appreciate it. Always great seeing you.
Thanks,
thank you so much.
Great to see you.
See ya.
We are overwhelmed, Lord Sauron. The dwarves are securing the elves' retreat. If we pursue, many Uruk